Hi, my name's David Sanders and I'm here to put together the Nelson Mandela mock-up cell. The size of the exhibition is 2.9 metres wide by 2.5 metres, which is the exact dimensions of the cell that Nelson Mandela was in on Robben Island. When you go to make your mock-up cell, the first thing you need to think about is where you're going to build it. Will it be built in the space that you're going to have it? If you're going to be building it outside, can you get it into a building, because it is quite high, and when you're working around it, just make sure you've got a lot of space. Something like a school hall would be perfect. The materials are everyday things that people use, so really easy to get hold of. The best thing you can do is to go to a local timber merchants and you'll get the things you need for the best price instead of going to one of the major companies. And you could even use second-hand materials if you've got them lying around. The great thing about using second-hand materials is generally they're free. So the more second-hand stuff you can use, the better. And you can use your imagination. You don't always have to follow the plans. And that's how I'd recommend to keep your costs down, because timber isn't cheap. When you go to put the exhibition together, it's important to have a few people around to help you, because it can be quite heavy. When you put the frames together, always make sure that you've got a nice flat surface and it will go easier together. When you lift it, make sure there's a couple of people at each end. And when you're putting the frames together, again, make sure there's somebody there to help you line it up. With the boards, always make sure there's two people with you, because they are quite tricky to screw into the wall. The first thing you'll do is get all your cuts done. You'll find that you'll save a lot of time if you have a look at the plans, see what the measurements are for all the timbers and cut them before you put anything together. When you go to put it together, make sure you build all the frames, and once they're complete you can start thinking about putting them together as a whole cell. And when you go to put the frames together, you can put two together at a time on an L shape, and you can use some wing nuts that will go straight through the frame, and it'll be quite easy to tighten up. Once you get that L shape together, the next thing you can do is add the side panel, and you can do that in the same way using wing nuts that will be on coach bolts. And once you get two sides and a back, you can put the front on and use wing nuts again. You can see I've put the OSB boards in certain places on the cell. You don't have to stick to what I've done, you can do it any way you see fit. Whatever you feel looks good for your project. And also you can see I've used a corrugated sheet. And not always easy to find, so you don't have to use it. Again, use your imagination. And that's it.